Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon and good evening, dear authors and invited guests. Welcome to a technical session 2A. My name is Richa and I'm the moderator of this session. On the behalf of a Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 7th International Congress on Information and Communication Technology through Zoom. Further, as we are well aware, we have been facing new normal situation while overcoming the pandemic. Hence, the conference has been shifted to the hybrid mode. We are very thankful to everyone who present on this digital platform to go along with us for the conference, these unpredictable post-COVID-19 circumstances and making this conference more productive. Also, we wish everyone and their families for their protected time. We wish everyone we hope you will enjoy the 2 days of knowledgeful and interactive session. We hope also there is a special note for the presenter. You will be given 10 to 12 minutes for presentation and 3 minutes for question answer. And after 10 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder to conclude the presentation. And I request while the presentation is going on, other participants kindly be muted. Just before we get started, there's another request to all the participants. They all are stay connected with us till the closing remark. Now I would like to start with papers. Now I would like to invite our first presenter. Her paper title is Visualizing Student Engagement and Performance in the Online Courses, a Step to Smart Learning Environment. And the presenter is Iman Al-Kindi. Dear presenter, you may please start your presentation.
University in this presentation as a part of International Congress of Information and Communication Technology, I will present my paper entitled Visualizing Student Engagement and Performance in Online Courses, a Step to Smart Learning Environment. The author of this paper are myself and Prof. Zuhur Al-Khanjari from Sultan Qaboos University. The agenda of today's presentation will consist of the following: background, following by lecture review, and then method, after that results, and finally conclusion. Let's move to the first part of this presentation. Smart learning environment needs to be enriched in order to advance the educational environment with regards to computers, networks, content, students, and instructors. On a wide sustainable scale, the smartness of learning environment was defined by their engagement, efficiency, and efficiency. Besides that, increased technological innovation has led to different changes in student behavior as well as modeling of instructional approach. So the learning environment needs to be efficient and provide more productive learning management as a way to enhance smart learning. Besides that, smart learning environment should log every single detail of the behavior of students. It also offers a chance for different stakeholders, such as higher education institutions, students, instructors, and researchers, to access the valuable knowledge by evaluating this behavior. The performance of students has been an area of concern for higher education institutions. So the study of factors related to the performance of university students has become a subject of increasing interest in the higher education community. So this study has been set out to examine and explore the possible relationship between student engagement and student performance by taking one component from an online course, which is midterm exam, and analyzing the data of the log file received from the model learning management system to check this relationship between these two factors. Moving to the related work section, most of the existing previous study paid special attention to the engagement and student performance. Some of the studies discuss one factor, for example, and other examine the two factors. This is shown in table 1, as you can see. As an example, in 2021, the author analyzed the trend of behavior engagement of 306 students taking a degree course teach at university online. The author discovered that students' degree of engagement has a significant impact on their learning outcomes. Another example, in 2020, the authors examined the connection between the level of engagement students in technology, enhanced learning, and student performance. The analysis indicated that high performance learning found it easier to focus than average and low performance when interacting with learning technology. Another example in 2019, to understanding how to promote interactive knowledge creation process is important for the evaluation of online learning environment and build learning environment to foster positive participation and interaction between students. Hence, the author looked at the different methods of awareness level for teacher education by looking at student cognitive engagement and performance in online discussion group. Last example, in 2018, based on the context, the author examined how student behavior engagement has evolved and illustrates the need for a binary scale of engagement. They observed that behavior engagement and student interaction with peers were not a standardized correlation, but there was an interaction between student and the instructor, and this was indicative of increased engagement. Moving to the method section. In the method section, I will present 2 points. The first one, context and sample. One of the learning management system platforms that are used in the learning and teaching process by integrating courses along with the face-to-face teaching is model or module object-oriented development learning environment. Sultan Qaboos University in Sultanate of Oman use model learning management system in teaching besides traditional learning. In other words, we can say that ICICT is using the blended learning. A fully online course, which is search strategies on the internet, was used as a case study in this paper, which was given in the fall 2018. The total number of students enrolled in it was 38 students. The model followed here supposed to help in tracking the students' activities in any course. The model goes through specific process, starting from student engagement and ending with checking the student performance. The second point in method section is data analysis. To determine the relationship between student engagement and performance, an analysis of the course log file extracted from model has been used. The authors then analyzed the data based on the below measurements, which are performance, mid-exam components from out of 20 marks, and engagement, the total number of activities undertaken by each student for the mid-exam component only. Results. In order to preparing the performance and engagement factors, first of all, we extracting the performance value. The performance value is calculated based on the mark of the mid-exam. The full mark is 20, so the student ID and his or her mark of mid-exam are okay. The other details are removed. The value is 10 transformed to range from 100 by multiplying the value by 5. For example, 20 times 5 equal 100. So the data shown in table 2 It is clear that the performance value of the students are in the same close range. We can see that student ID along with the performance value out of 20, and then the transformed performance out of 100. This approach is called percentile approach, which is a statistics that provide the relative location of a numerical data and distribution as opposite to all other points. It works by splitting the data into an even interval, each of which corresponds to category. So the author divided the data into from 0 to 35, it represents low performance. From 35.1 till 75, it represents average performance. And from 75.1 till 100, it represents high performance, as you can see in table 3. The performance. The number of actions in the log file of mid-exam, which are conducted by the student, represent the engagement of the student. This means in the file mid-exam, the action of each student in the column event's name was counted. These values later are converted to be in the range of 100, and later on also the value of 100 is divided into groups, which are low, average, and high, as you can see in the table 4. This is the rules in terms of if and then conditions. For example, HE represents high engagement, HB represents high performance, AE represents average engagement, and so on. So the summary relationship between the factors is converted into group of condition rules. If then these rules are true for most cases in the dataset, but it does not reflect the relationship between these two factors. The rules are, for example, if engagement high, then performance high. If engagement high, then performance average. If engagement average, then performance high. And so on for the rest of the rules. If engagement low, then performance low. Of if and then conditions. For example, HE represents high engagement, HB represents high performance, AE represents average engagement, and so on. So the summary relationship between the factors is converted into group of condition rules. If then these rules are true for most cases in the dataset, but it does not reflect the relationship between these two factors. The rules are, for example, if engagement high, then performance high. If engagement high, then performance average. If engagement average, then performance high. And so on for the rest of the rules. If engagement low, then performance low.
Dear presenter, sorry to interrupt. You have last 1 minute.
Among the dataset, which is 38 students, the category of performance appears to be high. In the future, the author will extend the analysis to investigate again the possible relationship between the two factors to consist of more components of the course, not only, for example, the midterm exam. We can include the final exam, the assignment, the project, etc. In addition, developing a support tool for instructors to assist them in projecting student performance during the early phases of the academic semester. Here are some references used in this presentation. Thank you very much for your time to listen to this presentation.
Thank you so much, presenter. You have very nice presentation. And now we have our chair, Dr. Vijay Singh Ji Rathod. Um, he is presently working as a professor as CSN Director International at IIS deemed to be University Jaipur, India, and Secretary ACM Jaipur Chapter, and a past chairman of CSI Jaipur Chapter, having a teaching experience of 20 plus years. Thank you so much, sir, for chairing this session.
Thank you so much for inviting me in this conference, and I give my best wishes to all the participants. And I wish that you all present your work within the time, and your research should be fruitful and be useful for the other researchers also, so that they can also pursue their work. So let us invite the another presenter without wasting much of time.
I would like to invite our next presenter to presenting his paper on digitalization and society, forms of interaction and expression. Valentina.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I would like now to share my screen. Hello. So we are three co-authors with Professor Boris Manov and Dubrinka Pecheva, and our presentation is oriented to digitalization and society and different forms of interaction and expression. Here are presented the main topics in the presentation. First topic, this is digitalization as a concept. That means entering the society of mobile technologies and the internet. The second topic is oriented to internet and new technologies and the consequences, which are consequences of digitalization and which provide a continuous fast flow of information and easy access to services. The next topic is digital skills and digital literacy. Digital literacy, this is the ability of a person to perform tasks effectively in a digital environment. And following Aviraman and Teshet-El-Kalaei, they describe digital literacy as a combination of technical, procedural, cognitive, and emotional social skills. Digital literacy refers to personal commitment to digital technologies, and digital skills include instrumental skills according Stewart or operational skills according Van Dijk. And these are skills for search, selection, and processing of information in computer and network sources, content creation, and internet and safety skills. Also, mobile learning, this is the other topic, which means technologically created environment for learning and communication in which users publish lessons, data, and their experience and communicate each other. Learners of all ages are actively involved in a two-way process of posting and informing, sharing comments and discussion. Online platforms facilitate and support mobile learning as they connect individuals regardless of distances or situations that do not allow face-to-face learning. And also the other topic is related to policy framework adopted in Bulgarian situation, in which the education processes take place, and of course COVID-19 situation and Bulgarian system oriented to restructuring in the direction of e-learning. So I will present several series of documents showing the commitment of the government of the need to digitalize education process and teaching. In 2014, a national strategy for introduction of ICT in Bulgarian schools has been developed, And this strategy is oriented to identify ways for modernization the education system, to improve access to quality education, and increase the use of information technology in formal and non-formal education. The other specific document, this is National Program Digital Bulgaria 2025, which is a continuation of Digital Bulgaria 2015. This program aims to modernize and implement new intelligent IT solutions in all areas of economy. There are three main objectives of Digital Bulgaria 2025. First objective, this is modernization of school and higher education in the field of ICT. That means development of reliable and modern ICT infrastructure at education institutions, improving digital competencies, modernization of teaching methods. The second objective is oriented to increasing the number of highly qualified specialists in the field of ICT. That means to increase the young people trained for ICT professions and to promote the development of these specialists. And the third objective is to improve the digital and ICT skills of the workforce. Under this program, different programs financed by the Bulgarian government are considered. And computers and information technologies cover the entire education system from kindergartens through secondary, higher education and postgraduate levels. And the formation of basic digital skills begins at an early age. And the most effective is the school age, when students easily acquire new skills and knowledge open to innovations. The digital environment requires skills as information retrieval, navigation, sorting, resource assessment, and network and publication security. Which are the arguments for digitalization of education? First, this is the fact that digital learning helps and adapt to education system and to the requirements of the European policies. The second, because it is an opportunity to increase diversity and efficiency of education. Also, digital learning involves the use of home or mobile devices by students to perform various tasks. Also, teachers can individualize the content of the lessons, and also pedagogical practices based on online platforms require testing, and the decision to use them is the result of the teacher's evaluation of how a tool or platform will be useful in online classes. This slide presents this is the result of one research that we carried out in Bulgarian situation through Bulgarian teachers in higher education and in secondary schools. And this figure present using mobile resources for teaching by teachers. So we can see that 84% of the teachers in secondary and higher education use educational resources which are available. Educational resources under e-learning, these are lessons, exercises, tests, tasks, which are in electronic forms, so oriented to digital education and to online learning. So 84% of teachers use such kind of electronic educational resources which are available. 66% of the teachers in secondary and higher education use educational resources which are created by themselves. And 64% of the teachers in secondary and higher education schools use educational electronic resources created by their colleagues or by some people who are teachers in different schools or in different universities. Only 1% of the interviewed teachers answered that they don't use electronic educational resources. And this picture is a good sign for digitalization of Bulgarian education system, because we can see that almost maybe 100% of teachers use educational electronic resources which are available or which are created by themselves. This and the next figure are oriented to presenting access to equipment, electronic equipment, by teachers and also by the students. Because in Bulgarian situation, in cases when teachers or students haven't such kind of digital resources, the school is oriented to providing such kind of equipment. And we can see that almost 70% of the schools are oriented to providing such kind of equipment like computer, laptop, or tablet for personal use of the teacher. And the most of the schools, these are almost 90%, are situated in cities. Almost 80% are situated in towns, and almost 50% of schools are situated in villages. Also very interesting are the results presented in the next figure, which show the access to equipment by students and the participation of the schools and schools management to support students in this process of digitalization. Half of the schools have made a targeted effort to provide electronic devices to students in need, and distribution by settlement is that 60%
Dear presenter, you have last 1 minute.
of the schools are in towns, and almost 50% are in villages and cities. This slide presents the results from another survey that we carried out for and against distance learning. Here are presented different arguments oriented to support distance learning, to support online learning by the parents and by the teachers. Also, there is a specific orientation in attitudes. In the first wave, which was March 2020, the most important issue was access to education, to educational technology and digital teacher training. But in the next waves, November, December 2020 and January, June 2021, and now also, the most discussed topic was related to the health of teachers and students. So I present several surveys which we carried out in secondary and also in higher education, in order to present the attitudes of the teachers, of the students, of the parents towards distance learning and towards digitalization of education. At the end of the presentation, several conclusions. First, this is that digital learning has a place in Bulgarian education and its quality is relatively good. Digital learning depends on the technical and methodological training and qualification of teachers, and also depends on the responsibility of the families. According to the teachers, thanks to the digitalization of the training, the possibilities for organizing the pedagogical interaction are expanding, and the COVID-19 pandemic required rapid and comprehensive reform of education and mobile learning. The COVID-19 demonstrates the importance of people's digital skills and the need for a reliable internet connection. At the end, I would tell that the digitalization helps technological progress, but it is important that people have a critical view to it, related to the fact that some of the students are in situation of distance, physical, emotional, psychological, and so on. And this is a so serious fact because digitalization and digital learning create a situation of so big and serious differences between students. And these differences are based on the social class and also social stratification of the families, because the most richest families, they have more opportunities which are created for their children. And also the other critical view towards digitalization is related to the fact that in some cases, the most of the students are so alone in this situation of the digitalization, and they feel they feel they need communication, social contact, social relations, and in this context is necessary to have very specific and reflective approach towards digitalization and towards digital learning. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, Miss Valentina, it was really a nice presentation. And I think the most of your study is based on 2020 data only. So have you also compared your like this digitalization in Bulgaria before the pandemic? What was the situation, and after the pandemic, what would be the like now consequences? So can you throw some light on that also?
So I think that the pandemic situation was so serious push towards digitalization of education. Because in this context, all universities and all schools were oriented to digitalization, and for 2 years we carried out the whole education under this digital process. But I think that there are results carried out by Institute for Educational Research. And this research was carried out in 2018, which present that almost 70% of Bulgarian schools have such kind of digital resources and digital devices in them. I think that in Bulgarian universities, the situation was better because all kind of lessons of lecturers, of different exercises and discussions and so on, were carried out under digital devices. But I think that before COVID situation, the digitalization of Bulgarian education were worse in comparison to now. Now, after a COVID situation, we was in the context that all education have to be carried out and to provide under as digital under digital context, and to provide in digital aspects. That's why I think that this maybe was one of the good and positive aspect of COVID-19, that create such kind of situation to digitalize Bulgarian education in secondary and higher schools, because they were obliged to carry out all educational activities in digital context.
That's fine.
So if I have to compare the situation before and after, is it possible to think and to tell now in COVID situation, now digitalization is better in comparison to before COVID-19 situation.
But I think there is another question raising whether this digitalization will be sustaining in the future also, because at the time of COVID-19 pandemic, we have to go for this digitalization. But now when the situations are becoming again favorable to us, this COVID-19 is almost now disappearing from, in India it has disappeared almost, but I don't know what is the situation in Europe and other countries. But I think after the next year or the next to next year, there will be no this COVID-19 or something like that, the pandemic. At that time, sustainability of the digitalization would be a major, question for the researchers. So let us hope best. So since we have limited time, so we cannot ask continue this communication further. So I just like to congratulate you for your nice study. Thank you so much, Valentina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we are moving ahead. We have another chair in this session, Dr. James Stephen Meka. Dr. Meka James Stephen is presently working in a WISTM Engineering College, Visakhapatnam, as a principal of the past 7 years. He is a member of Executive Council, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. He is a remarkable professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Dr. Stephen.
Yeah, first of all, apologies for my delay. I always confused with the time with UK and IST. So nice to listen to the presentations and nice to be a part again. And nice to see Rathor sir even there. So Dr. Rathor, nice to see you. So
nice
yeah.
To meet you after such a long time.
Yeah, very true.
So sir, we can start our next presentation. So I would like to invite our next presenter. He's presenting his paper on technology plus design for social integration. And presenter is Marcelo. Dear presenter, you may please start your presentation.
Okay. Hello, my name is María Elena Toselo and my colleague Marcelo Greb. We are presenting our work, Technologies plus Design for Social Integration. We are from Santa Fe, Argentina. Our university is Universidad Nacional del Litoral. Okay. We are going through a moment of change in social, cultural, and epistemological paradigms, which implies a transformation in our conception of the world, in our way of living and inhabit. Today, we understand reality as an intersubjective construction built from multiple views and interpretations, a network of processes that occur simultaneously in different levels of articulation. There is no doubt that digital technologies have influenced the paradigm shift and have not only caused changes in the way of perceiving, experiencing, and communicating reality, but also a great impact on languages associated with hypertext and multimedia communication, which promote relational and complex thinking. Access to this new context of exchange led to the appearance of unprecedented situations in which human bonds and potentials acquire new dimensions. The cyberception is a human capacity that implies the convergence of cognitive and perceptual processes in which connectivity to networks has a fundamental role. Emerging technologies have generated a process of dilation of reality, from the creation of a virtual social space-time, which is intertwined with physical space, causing trans-spatial forms of interpersonal relationships, work, leisure, and education. In this expanded and hybrid context, which promotes the simultaneous experience of physical and virtual places, cyberculture develops. And to act in it, we must be connected and know how to perform in a network through digital representations and with a physical virtual presence. In an inclusive socio-technical network that make possible to dialogue, build knowledge, design, and produce using the communicational and transformative potential of ICT, we established pedagogical strategies to carry out significant experiences in the digital graphic workshop of the Universidad Nacional del Litoral, seeking to collaborate with problematic situations of the regional context of Santa Fe City in Argentina. For this, we decided to partner with other academic spaces of our university and social organizations that operate in the territory and address diverse problematics. Thus, we transposed the limits between formal and non-formal education, between different branches of design, and between different fields of knowledge to produce artifacts, interfaces, and representations capable of articulating the links between inhabitants, their actions, and the multiple dimensions they inhabit. We implemented two experiences. In the first one, carried out in 2018, we partnered with the civil association La Funda, a social and educational space dedicated to protecting and accompanying vulnerable childhoods of 3 peripheral neighborhoods of Santa Fe City. Places emphasis on popular education from the perspective of public health and human rights. The second experience was developed in 2021 together with the extension project of social interest Insular Narrations and the pre-professional practice of the degree in occupational therapy who have been working in La Boca neighborhood, a coastal settlement located in the flood valley of the Paraná River, next to the access channel to the port of our city. In urban situations with very different physical characteristics, different social actors and cultural identities, and in historical context, close in time, but paradoxically different, product of the derivations of the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenge was the same. What can we contribute from digital media and the disciplines of the design family to project a more sustainable and inclusive environment? What can we do from the public university for the integration of our asymmetric societies? The methodology consisted on presenting the students with the problems of the neighborhoods and the needs of their communities, as well as a set of instruments and media related to digital graphics, web design and programming, parametric design and digital manufacturing, graphic design and multimedia, responsive artifacts, and augmented reality. The assignment was to create, at the intersection of problems and needs and means, design proposals in interdisciplinary groups, always in coordination with a general project that provided a framework of coherence to the works. This strategy favored exchanges and collective construction in a process of association and negotiation, in which the use of collaborative platforms, social network, and shared databases was fundamental. Furthermore, each proposal should go through a transmedia narrative, either in the conception of the idea, in its development process, or in the way of communicating it to the community. Marcelo?
Yes. In the 2018 experience, productions aimed at making the association visible and contributing with its internal organization, supported with great effort by volunteer work, as well as the fabrication of objects that collaborate in the activities that are carried out with the children of the neighborhood. We highlight the audiovisual productions intended for advertising campaigns due to the strong affective commitment they managed to transmit, building the story from the looks and wishes of the children. Some even incorporated the use of augmented reality in printed banners. Also interesting were the proposals that use laser cutting technology and 3D printing for the manufacture of educational games and multi-purpose furniture. Another remarkable work combined parametric design with a craft manufacturing process to produce a removable stand. In 1921, the experience, we proposed, in the 2021 experience, the proposals were aimed at making the natural and cultural heritage of La Boca neighborhood visible, valuing the identity of this community and providing innovative ideas with the capacity to drive sustainable development processes. That is why many of the proposals were related to community tourism or social economy initiatives. In this edition, more emphasis on transmedia narrative was placed.
You have last 1 minute.
Okay. So all the proposals went through multiple platforms and languages. We highlight some audiovisual pieces that managed to capture the particularities of the site, its history, and its inhabitants to communicate them with an especially sensitive poetics. Other proposals related to local microeconomies were also very original. Packaging design, multifunctional furniture, and product displays, all of them made from local material or by recycling everyday objects. We highlight a display made of plastic bottle caps. The proposal, which admits variants of use and scales, was designed based on parametric design logics, which allowed to explore informal alternatives to achieve a versatile and efficient product. As a closing of the workshop, in both experiences, there were 2 presentation instances in an internal exhibition. Each group presented to the rest their objectives, design processes, and proposals. In a second instance, a collaborative display allowed to share the achievement of the workshop with the entire educational community, with the associations and stakeholders. Unfortunately, the pandemic, this instance was not possible last year. Conclusions. But it's difficult to arrive at generalized assessments. given the strong link between the activities and the contextual factors of each experience. Not only was the physical and cultural environment diverse, but those who participated in the workshop strongly marked the basis of thought and action on which, on both occasions, the proposals were developed. However, we can affirm that it's very gratifying to see that from the disciplines of design, we can contribute to realities that are usually ignored by the academic and professional world. We were also able to verify how design assumes as a mediator between material means and social needs and practices. It's capable of dealing with different types of problem with similar degrees of relevance. In this way, it is essential to have a creative and flexible outlook to learn to co-create, to think as a network with all available resources, subjects, objects, spaces, and media, designing and building knowledge from a multiple perspective with a sense of community, taking advantage of the communicational and transformative potential of ICT in the greatest achievement of this experience. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was indeed a very nice presentation, and I think it's a very nice work carried out by both of you, Mary and Marcelo. So congratulations to both of you for such a nice social contribution and using the technologies for the betterment of the society. So very nice.
You.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Stephen, you want to say something?
Yeah, that looks good to me. Whatever, let it be technology or anything, if it is not useful for the society, everything will be in vain. So that's actually a very good work in the right context these days, especially whatever technology that is available that should be helpful to the communities and the society. So I appreciate the work. We can move on to the next.
Very true, sir. Very true.
Thank you.
So Richa ma'am, now you can invite the next one.
Yeah, I would like to invite our next presenter, Anastasia, to present her paper on disk space management automation with CSI and Kubernetes.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Well, I hope everyone sees it. I'm going to present my master's degree, parts of my master's degree work called Disk Space Management Automations with CSI and Kubernetes. And this work was performed in collaboration with Igor Nikiforov, the assistant professor in St. Petersburg Polytechnical University. I'll try to be quick. Let's start with introduction. Nowadays, container orchestration system gain great popularity because they simplify the process of application deployment in cluster, and Kubernetes become de facto standard for this kind of system, and it's open source software to manage Docker containers in cluster. Almost every application that runs in a cluster required to store data on hard drives, for example, database, log files, or data for Internet of Things, and so on. But Kubernetes currently supports a limited number of storage systems in its code, so there is a necessity to provide the general interface for storage vendors, so we implement the storages for Kubernetes, and CSI were introduced. Container storage interface, or CSI, greatly simplify tedious task to add a new storage in Kubernetes, because it doesn't require to change Kubernetes code or following Kubernetes release or testing process. Storage vendors only need to implement this interface, and Kubernetes supported with its external component. So it's very easy for storage vendors to provide these storages for Kubernetes. But currently, there is no CSI project that fully automate the management of hard drives directly in Kubernetes. In this presentation, we compare following CSI projects: bare metal CSI, Topol LVME, CSI driver LVME, and MinIO. You can see in details with comparison analysis in my paper, but to summarize, I could say that bare metal CSI is powerful CSI implementation, and it provides a lot of great features to automate disk space management, but it has its downside that needs to be eliminated. For example, there's a lack of ephemeral volume support, volume expansion support, and the test automation support. I will cover ephemeral volume support in this presentation, but volume expansion and test automation will be covered in the future. So Kubernetes has two types of volumes in its project. First type is persistent volumes. Persistent volume is completely independent from application which use it. Application Kubernetes represented as a pod. It's a group of Docker containers that run as a single unit in cluster. And if pod is deleted or application is removed from the system, persistent volume, which is used by this application, remains in the system and keep data of this application. And ephemeral volumes, they remains in the system along with the pod, and when application is removed from the cluster, ephemeral volumes are removed as well. And in these cases, suitable for such cases as for application. We introduced a common interface in our code for bare metal CSI called volume operation, because bare metal CSI treats persistent volume and ephemeral volume the same. Persistent volume are created by following Linux commands. It's parsets to create a partition, and KFS to create a file system on this partition, and mount. It's mounting this file system to application, so a hard drive could be accessed by application. And persistent volume are created by following remote call procedures: create volume and delete volume. And with RPC calls executed by external provisioner, it's a component of Kubernetes which is responsible for creation of persistent volumes. And ephemeral volumes are created by not published volume and not unpublished volume remote calls. And those RPCs are called by Kubelet. It's also a part of Kubernetes system, and it is responsible for creation of ephemeral volumes or mounting volumes to application. So to implement this volume, we implement a common interface, implement creation of partitions, file system, and mount. And we introduced a new RPC calls in our bare metal CSI. So we also implement a few tests for this new functionality, and currently they all passed. So bare metal CSI supports ephemeral volumes. As a result, before adding ephemeral volume support to bare metal CSI, system administrators need to use two Kubernetes command to delete pods or application. First command is to delete pod, and the second command is deleting persistent volume. And after adding ephemeral volumes, there's only one command to delete it. We need to only delete pod, and volumes is deleted along with them. And we perform two experiments. First one with automatic execution. We wrote a script which is execute two commands and single commands. And the benefit in this case is about 5% in comparison to a single command. And manual command execution when system administrators needs to execute two commands. They also need to discover by themselves application and persistent volume names. And after that, they execute only one command, and they need to discover only pod name in the Kubernetes cluster. In this case, time difference is about 40%. As a conclusion, I can say that we perform existing CSI implementation research, and bare metal CSI is the most powerful implementation for local disk provisioning. And to provide more functionality for disk automation, we add new features, ephemeral volumes, to bare metal CSI. As a general result of the work, bare metal CSI becomes more automated and reliable, and it becomes more attractive to new customers and satisfy more requirements for users. And in the future articles, we would like to cover topics about test automation and volume expansion in bare metal CSI. So that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anastasia. It was a nice work presented by you. So can you tell me, like, the CSI implementation, what you have done, and have you compared your result with some existing similar implementations, or there are no such models exist?
Well, unfortunately, some of implementation doesn't have such features, so we can't compare them.
Fine. So it's better than the manual those operations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine, good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Richa madam, now we can invite the next one.
Yeah.
So now I would like to invite our next presenter. It's a real-time and zero footprint bag of synthetic syllabus algorithm for email spam detection using subject, line, and short text field. Stanley.
Yes, so Stanley, and let me show my presentation. So yes, it's like a mouthful, and I will explain it has its meaning in the course of presentation. So again, this work done in collaboration with Earthlink Internet, ISP Internet Service Provider, and University of Bedfordshire. So why we still talking about spam detection? Like everybody involved in email may know this is really critical and crucial. Without dealing with spam, email protocol basically as good as dead, because majority of the traffic, something up 90%, is spam, and it's bad for users. So your mailbox will be completely unusable, and for providers, because they will need a lot of resources absolutely not needed to support functionality. A good old way of dealing with spam. This is IP blocking list. So we determine bad IPs, block them, a lot of vendors who provide this list, and that will cut off about half of the spam. But we still need to deal with other stuff. And again, a lot of anti-spam service provider gives you good services, and it's a lot of them. I won't be naming them because they all good. I just don't want to pick the best ones. But probably with them, they still have problems with small but very invasive cohorts of so-called intelligent, or you can call them cloud or mutable, or even PhD spam, when really high proficient players work with it. For example, on one of the conferences I met with infamous Nigerian prince, who of course not Nigerian, not prince, like PhD doing its research in machine translation, machine learning, but it's the way of financing his work. And it's really sophisticated algorithm he use, and this type of spammers, they're not detectable. And problem with current vendors, they dealing with spam, not spammers, and this is a big problem. And bread and butter of spam detection still is crowdsourcing. So this famous spam, not spam button, when you let providers know what your labeling is. So you're working as some kind of amateur labeling, and they extract signatures, put a database, and compare all incoming spam. But still, they can do what they can do. They has no control over your environment. For example, this canary account spammers use as intelligence. So they collect information if the spam goes through, if not, they adjust. Also, subjectivity of the your users' comprehension of the spam. For some, it's spam. For some, this is good mail. So you have, as an ISP, deal with this issue. You have to know your spammers and adjust accordingly. And again, there is no silver bullet. It's balance of interest of everybody. I will touch it later. So this is example. So we saw this nice hump, daily bump of usual spam traffic and usual spammers. When we have these intelligent spammers, they behave differently. They run a really intense spam run, observe how it goes. If it starts detected, they just cut it off, trying to find, again, machine learning, they use this too. So they're trying to find how to invade, rotate signature, rotate everything, and proceed if needed. And like in ideal case, as a human, you can easily understand what your message about. And there are some attempts to use NLU, semantic analysis, and sentiment analysis, but this is really premium service, really expensive in terms of computation, so you cannot use it for all messages. And also it leads to arms race. So spammers try to hide a real meaningful part after the bunch of junk, and you end up with the same situation just when everybody sends tens of megabytes of data. So can we do this in more light way? And I just included this seminal work about art, that it's not about content, but in form. And we can use this form for detecting spam too. For example, if you send message, applied for the job, and you got back message started with something, dear applicant, thank you. So you know you don't need to even read further because this is a rejection. So we can use with spam, just see some short, easy, understandable, and work with like parameters in the logs, IP hopping or signature rotation. So this approach we use in our system, and this is part of the family of the back of features methods. In LLP, it's old, very like powerful and popular method back of words. In our case, we don't use words because again, you need to have your database and you have to search. And in case of high availability system, it should be pretty quick, like 10th of milliseconds. So we just have some kind of entity from a real world. We extract features, count them, and map everything into vector space, feature space, and then we can do like to compare proximity of the vectors. We can use simple linear algebra. And for our approach, we use for this short, because every header it's about 1,000 characters, and we use this synthetic syllables. They are not real phonetic ones for English. This is just some kind of formality. So this is either duple consonant vowel or single consonant, as you can see in this example 3. It's one pseudo syllable T, R, E, and E. So that gives us a relatively small feature space, less than 150 dimensionalities, but this is enough to distinguish, have like a good power to distinguish between different words, and it's not heavy computationally, so everything could be done almost in real time without using any databases. Which is just direct mapping in the shared memory. So and again, you can use either of these metrics, either Euclidean or cosine, or any more sophisticated like SVM to divide different classes. And like again, example, one spring, like sprucing for the spring with one name and with another in representation of the histogram. And you have your distances, and you can use it for thresholding spam, not spam. And again, this is not a panacea, because you can have some cases for some stratas like social media notifications, bank notification. You can have same signature like Tom, you have new contact team, or like Sam, you have your statement, monthly statement. But in general, as you see at the bottom, a lot of spam messages tend to associate with this type of proximity verdicts, and no spam messages associated to no proximity verdicts. So, and again, this is just one of the parameters. So we use a neural network which gets input multiple, like 100 features, engineered features, and then you can use this network to aggregate everything and have final result, final verdict. And of course, this source is on GitHub, publicly available. And also, I would like to say it's really useful to extend your class, not just spam, not spam, but multiple classes. So it helps a lot with imbalances, class imbalances, overfitting, very powerful thing. And also it could be fuzzy, so multiple classes assigned to the same message. Again, meta learning is a really perspective way of dealing with your vendors verdicts. So you can do some kind of dual meta learning neural network on top of them and verify this trustworthiness. Very efficient. And again, it's not about just spammers. It's multiple agent spammers, like what spammers, bad spammers, commercial senders, different types of your users. Some of users could be your spammers, and then could be spam your ISPs, and this is balance between ISPs. So you should know what you want to achieve, on what kind of equilibrium you want to stay. And again, like gray mail, some kind of fuzzy commercial, maybe some may consider this as spam, some not. And again, for example, some legitimate commercial senders may say, why my message is sent to spam, because we want to work with you. So yeah, this is some kind of fuzzy approach, also useful. And again, they will be spammers, or pseudo spammers will be always with us. So we just have to live with them some way or another. So thank you for your attention. Appreciate it. Questions, suggestions, concerns?
Well, it was really a nice, really technical presentation. So thank you so much for that. So can I know this BOSS algorithm is developed by you, or you just improved this algorithm, or you are using this algorithm?
This is pretty simple one, but yeah, this is like this is just a few routines, yeah, because this is simple, so like everybody can implement it. But
okay.
Yeah, if you need already working implementation, it's up there in the.
I'd like to see some results. Have you implemented this algorithm on some data sets, or what do you say?
Data set, I don't have it because this is like a lot of data. It's like tens of millions messages per day. So
yes.
yeah, so these results, they are just based high level aggregation of this data, because otherwise it's I don't know open resource who would hold this amount of data, because this is enormous stuff.
Fine.
ISPs, they deal
And
with
one more question. I think we have met last time also in this ICT 2021 2020.
Yeah.
I recognize you. I think I have met you already there at the physical conference in Brunel University. Last time we met. So,
yeah. Nice to see. Yeah, nice to see you again.
And we hope we meet again in 2023.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Fine, sir. Fine.
See
Thank you
you.
so much. So Richa ma'am, we can invite the next one now.
Sure, sir. So I would like to invite our next presenter to present her paper on ARMZ as a modular tracking device. And presenter name is Ella. Dear presenter, you may please start your presentation.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you see my screen?
We cannot see your screen, but we can see your baby.
Okay.
God bless you. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
It's a dual presentation.
Okay, now it's okay?
Yeah, we could see now.
We can see.
Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ela Zawicka, and I am second-year PhD candidate of Institute of Fundamental Technological Research, Polish Academy of Sciences. The subject of my research is ARMZ as a modular tracking device, which is funded by NCN Opus project. Hyper-redundant manipulators have large redundant number of degrees of freedom. Their advantage is that they are more organic, as they resemble snakes or elephant trunks, and can be more effective in the unknown environment. Disadvantage is that such manipulators are very difficult to control. ARMZ is a conceptual manipulator composed of concurrent modules, each having 1 degree of freedom. Figure on the left shows the module with its geometric parameters, radius r, angle zeta between top and bottom faces, offset d, and slenderness, d to r ratio. Picture on the right shows the influence of zeta and slenderness. This is a picture of a mock-up prototype. All 12 modules are congruent. This animation illustrates a random movement of the ARMZ manipulator. As you can see, the range of movement is quite wide. This animation shows more relational tasks, namely bending of the arm Z constrained by a narrow slot. Obviously, the collisions with the sides, shown in blue, should be minimized. And this animation shows a realistic task of placing the tip of the manipulator into a given position, circular hole, in constrained environment by the cardboard box. Arm Z changes its shape solely by twisting individual modules. This experiment shows the difficulty of control. Discrete arm Z, so the rotation is not continuous but discrete, forms a point cloud. Excuse me. Forms a point cloud for illustrative purpose. On the left, 6 units manipulator. On the right, 8 units manipulator. Angle zeta of each module is pi over 8. Operational space clearly depends on the number of modules. Similar example, but for zeta equal to pi over 4. This figure, I'm sorry, this figure shows that not only the number of modules influences the range of motion, but also the shape of individual modules. In this case, the arm Z is less accurate, but explores the space more exhaustively. Volumetric renderings illustrating reaching error for various numbers of degrees of freedom. And the largest errors are close to the base of the arm Z and in the corners of the bounding box, like here. Phi and theta stand for azimuth and altitude respectively. PT is the position of the tip of manipulator. Vn is the normal vector to the surface of the last module. In other words, it is a vector pointing from the tip of the manipulator. Vd stands for the desired direction of the normal vector. In this case, the sunlight direction. In this task, the intention is to follow the sun direction during summertime, from summer solstice to September equinox, between 10 a.m. And 6 p.m., shown as the red area. Visualization of the angular errors for arm Z manipulators of various numbers of degrees of freedom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. The outline indicating the tracking period from previous slide is superimposed as the white dashed line for the case of 3 degrees of freedom. This is for our prototype. Relative twists of modules 1, 2, and 3 of 4-module ARM-Z, which follows the sun on July 1st between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. local time. Error, which is angle between VD and VN, for globally optimal states and for continuous control scenario. Globally optimal means that we do not care for the smoothness of the motion. Some peaks in errors can be noticed for the continuous scenario. It is a trade-off between the accuracy and smoothness of the motion. Therefore, the error grows substantially after 6 p.m. This animation illustrates the result of tracking optimization. The manipulator has been implemented in Bullet Physics Software Development Kit, which is a widely used tool for real-time collisions detection and multi-physics simulation for virtual reality, robotics, machine learning, and etc. In order to optimize the motion of ARM-Z manipulator, the inverse dynamics has been solved by dual annealing methods. Effective direction tracking in a given task is already possible with only 4 modules, of which 3 are moving. Therefore, we have 3 degrees of freedom. And the precision of direction tracking in this simple example is satisfactory. In future work, we would like to improve the control, develop large ARM-Z for more demanding tasks, and build a prototype. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. It was a nice presentation. And because of the limitation of the time, we are not asking much of questions. It was good. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ella, for your nice presentation. We will appreciate your research work, and you can beautifully manage your research work and your baby. It's very highly appreciated.
Your baby
Thank you.
Too cute.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ella. Now we had completed all the presentations. I sincerely thank our authors for their excellent presentation and contribution in this session, and all our participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. All the presenter would be getting digital certificates within 2 working days, and further all the papers has already forwarded to the Springer, and the publication live within 5 to 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT. And I also thank our both of session chairs. One is Vijay sir, and the second is James Stephen sir. So thank you so much, sir, for being here and chairing this session. I would like to display the certificates. So it's a token of appreciation on the behalf of Team ICICT and the Global Knowledge Research Foundation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciated.
And before ending, I would like to request to everyone, please turn on their cameras for a quick snapshot for this virtual conference. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for such a nice presentations. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you. I wish you the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.